It was nighttime. I heard someone knocking on a gate on the street at some houses. Then they knocked on the gate next door. Finally, they knocked on mine. I went closer to see who was there on that dark and deserted street, to see if it was that strange woman they had told me about. Community, stay until the end, because there are gifts for you. Don't leave after the last story. Very, very, very good evening, community. Thank you for being here once again. Ready to dive into the stories sent to us by ordinary people, people like you or me, who one day came across something they couldn't explain. With that side, often unsettling and terrifying, of the supernatural. Thank you for continuing to be part of this project, for trusting us to give voice to your stories and keep them alive. Since most of us listening today won't be here one day, but these stories will be recorded forever as a testimony of what we lived, of what we felt, of the fact that at some point we were here. So it's time to turn off the light and enter together into the following stories of Relatos de la Noche. Hello, community. I'm from a small town near Remedios in Villa Clara, Cuba. Now I live here in Orlando, Florida, and honestly, I miss it a lot, like before when I lived on the island or even after that. In Miami, there were always people to share stories like this with. My coworkers are good people, but they don't have the same interest in sitting down to listen to this. I guess it's part of the Latin American charm. This happened to me as a child. My mom was sick, so they sent me to Zulueta, a nearby town, to get hard-to-find medicine. I clearly remember happily riding my bike, excited because I had found them. Halfway back, on the long, lonely road between towns, I got a flat tire. I got off, kept pushing the bike, but it started to rain. Not just rain, no, here today it was like a hurricane. That's when, in the distance, about 40 meters from the road, I saw an old house that looked abandoned. And I also saw that a big, really huge dog was walking over there limping. At that moment, I thought about getting closer. Maybe I could wait there until the rain stopped. I knocked on the door, but no one answered. I pushed it and it was open. The dog was inside, lying down and looking at me. It wasn't growling or wagging its tail. Nothing. I'm going to stay with you, little dog, just for a little while. That's what happens during a storm, I told him. There was an old cot with a sunken mattress and a torn sack on the floor. The dog lay on the cot, so I sat on the sack, careful with the paper bag I carried. The medicine couldn't get wet for any reason. They were for my mom. They were very important. Tired from so much pedaling, I lay down and almost fell asleep, lulled by the sound, because outside the rain wouldn't stop. And suddenly I heard something. A low sound like a growl. I opened my eyes a little and moved so he wouldn't notice. And then I realized it wasn't just a growl, it was like a murmur. Dog, it got up, but what rose from the cot wasn't a dog. It was something that walked on two legs, tall as a big man. The silhouette was that of a person, but the head was still that of a dog. And so with my eyes half closed, I felt it looking at me and its silhouette turning toward me. And without making a sound, it went out the door, into the darkness, into the rain. I don't know how much time passed after that, but when the rain let up a bit, I took off my shirt to wrap the paper bag with the medicine, grabbed the bike to push it, and started walking. On the way, that's when I heard it. Something was following me along the side of the road, among the trees. I couldn't see it, but I knew it was there, not just because I could hear it, but because I could feel it, because I could feel its gaze. I dropped the bike and ran as fast as I could. I got home exhausted, but with the medicine intact. My mom greeted me so joyfully that seeing her eyes made me forget what had happened. I searched for my bike the next day, but it was gone and hasn't been found even years later. I wonder if that thing didn't do anything to me because it knew I was there for a good reason, because I was taking care of my mother. Hi, I'm Nazaret, but everyone calls me Naz. I live in the state of Mexico, but I'm renting in Mexico City to be near the university. This happened about a month ago, and I've only shared it with my sister, my mom, a healer, and a close friend because of the desperation I felt. My time as a university student living away from home has mostly been positive and educational. Also, I met a very special person with whom I am in a relationship, Carlos. One day our classes were canceled, so we spent time together in a hotel room. The afternoon was going normally. We even decided to take a bath. But it was at that moment when everything changed. Just like that, all of a sudden, nothing more. Suddenly, Carlos told me, Nas, he stopped seeing a shadow in the bathroom mirror. He's an atheist, very skeptical, while I'm quite sensitive to energies, presences, and other situations that are hard to explain. My family is very holistic. My parents have abilities to contact beings that are not on this earthly plane, like souls, archangels, and even deceased relatives. I chose to ignore what Carlos said. Even though we both felt uncomfortable, we started gathering our things to leave while we talked, to ease the tension. Suddenly, Carlos fell silent with a look of fear on his face and said to me, Nas, honestly, I don't know if I should tell you, but I think there are bloodstains on the mattress. I immediately pulled off the sheets, and what we found there was terrifying. It wasn't just little bloodstains. The mattress was covered in it. It looked old, dry, a dark brown color, and the mattress also had several stab marks, as if someone had used a knife in that place. The highest concentration of blood was right in the area where the marks were. It was obvious that no one had tried to clean it. They had just covered it with sheets to hide it. The scene horrified me so much I vomited. That area where we were is known as a hotspot in the city. At night, it's full of sex workers with cheap hotels on several streets, and every corner is watched by pimps who control the place. For safety reasons, maybe I decided to take a picture of the room, the mattress, the surroundings. This is where things got even stranger. After taking the picture, I left my phone on the table and ran to the bathroom to throw up. Carlos followed me to help, but what happened next left us really confused. We decided to hurry up and leave that place as soon as possible. However, when I looked for my phone, it wasn't where I had left it. It seemed like someone had taken it, because I clearly remembered putting it on the table before running to the bathroom. Carlos tried to call me, but at that moment, noises started to be heard. Noises everywhere. In the next room, in the pipes, in the street, they were the usual noises, cars, ambulances, screams. But somehow, at that moment, there was so much noise that we couldn't hear the cell phone ringing anywhere. We searched desperately. We checked the mattress, took off the sheets, even looked in the trash can, but the cell phone didn't show up. So I decided to look under the mattress. When I picked up a sheet that was halfway to the floor, there was my phone, but how it got there I couldn't explain. The most unsettling part was that when we found it, all the noise suddenly stopped. It was as if suddenly all that noise that seemed to be inside with us was now very far away. Only deep silence remained with us in the room. I couldn't explain why we were so scared, but we ran out. Though I was initially determined to report what happened, I knew it would be risky. That place is controlled by the mafia, and in Mexico, especially in these areas, the authorities don't do anything. Reporting it would just endanger me. Later on, I started to feel physically unwell. I had constant nausea and a pressure in my chest that made it hard to breathe. I talked to my sister, desperate to tell her what had happened. It was nighttime, and as I was telling her what happened over the phone, I swear to you, the lights in my room started flickering, as if the power was about to go out. Suddenly, the call dropped, and when I tried to call her back, it immediately sounded like the call had been hung up, like I couldn't get the call through. We couldn't reach each other for 5 minutes. Finally, she started praying at home. She has the same abilities, so to speak, as my parents, and maybe that's why we managed to reconnect. After I finished telling her, she said something that scared me even more. Unfortunately, yes, someone died there, most likely a sex worker. That soul saw you, it attached itself to you, it's with you now. Do you need to do something about it? 3 days later, I got a call from my father with devastating news for me about a very dear family member. He had passed away. Someone who was like a second mother to me, someone who was always there when my parents couldn't take care of me. That news devastated me. I had to travel 3 hours to say goodbye, and I asked a friend, Antonio, to come with me. I was very exhausted. I was emotionally broken, and despite everything, I still had to deal with my final university assignments. While I was talking to Antonio, I confessed to him that for days I had felt like someone was following me, that I felt someone touching my back, pulling my hair. Suddenly, a constant and disturbing sensation. I also told him about the mattress. Very worried, he told me that I needed to do a cleansing, that someone really was with me, that even he, who doesn't have any special sensitivity, could tell. I wasn't alone. I attempted a traditional Mexican cleansing by rubbing an egg over my body, but it clearly didn't work. My sister then gave me the contact of a healer she knew because of everything she's been studying, a true master in these matters. I called her, told her what happened, everything, all the details, and again, just like when I told my sister, the call just got cut off, and when I tried to call her back, my phone seemed to have no signal. It didn't work. The call just wouldn't go through. This time, 15 minutes went by before she could call me back. By the time I was already tired of trying. When she did, I heard her differently. She sounded agitated. She told me she had started vomiting uncontrollably and that she felt very sick. She asked me if I had felt like that, and I confirmed that I felt bad, but not to that extent. That's when she realized the situation was serious. I'm going to be clear, there's a tormented soul inside you. It's a woman, probably someone who left in a very violent, bullying way. You were in that place where she stayed, and that's where she started to consume your energy without knowing that she's dead. Don't try to hurt yourself. She's just desperate, trapped in a darkness that we can't understand. I cried. I cried out of fear and desperation. I didn't know how to handle something like that. As a last resort, I called my mom, who has experience in these kinds of situations. She suggested doing a remote cleansing ritual. I gathered everything she requested: a candle, water, a plant, incense, and something that made me feel safe. I chose a quartz and a necklace. My mother assured me I'd know what to do and just needed to stay calm. I started to meditate, breathing deeply, and suddenly I fell into a kind of deep sleep. I felt something heavy lifting off my back, as if something was leaving my body. Within that dream, I saw a woman sitting in front of me. I tried to speak to her, and she listened to me attentively. "I don't know your story or why you're here. I want to help your soul find peace, but this isn't your body. This isn't your place. From the bottom of my heart, I'm asking you to leave me, please." I never saw his face, but I somehow knew a man took her life. Somehow I knew her name was Teresa and that she was worried about her descendants. The word was engraved in my mind. While my mother worked from home, contacting archangels to help her, everything finally came to an end. When I woke up, my room felt peaceful. The exhaustion, nausea, and fear had finally disappeared. As I gathered my things, I felt a warm embrace, as if someone was thanking me from behind. Since then, I feel like something changed inside me in many of the places I go. I end up hearing whispers, feeling presences that I didn't notice before. Was it a good ending, a bad one, or simply an ending? Was it coincidence or fate to be in that room, on that mattress? I leave it to the judgment of those who listen to this story. Thank you for sticking around, community, for being among the few who make it to this point in the episode, and who almost instinctively seek out those stories that many others would rather avoid. We listen to them here because we like them, because in some way they remind us that we're still alive. We just heard the story of Naz and that room where she found something, or rather something seemed to find her and didn't want to let her go. Can you imagine how many things you come across every day, how many stories you encounter without even knowing them? It's always important to be prepared. You never know when a place might leave a mark on you. It could be a bus stop, a subway car, a hotel or office hallway, a rental house we're going to see, or even a spot on the street we were just passing by. And just like that, without realizing it, something stays with us. If you've experienced something similar in a place you now avoid, or that still makes you uneasy to think about what happened, share it with us. You can send it to miraledodelanoche.com. We will read it carefully, and it might be included in the next compilation. For now, let's continue because there are still more stories tonight. Hello, community. My name is Jennifer. I'm from Santa Ana in El Salvador, and what I'm about to tell you happened in 2015. We had gone to visit my grandmother, who at that time lived in San Miguel, in a place called Bolivar, a few hours from my house. Her house was simple, in the middle of a very beautiful piece of land. Behind the house was the area where they made tortillas, and not far away there was a stream, one of those with huge rocks, where people sometimes washed clothes. I clearly remember that day was very hot. We had to cross the stream to get water from a pipe on the other side, because there was none left at home, so they sent us to fetch some. However, being children, instead of listening, we immediately started playing and let time slip away until it got dark. Once we realized it, they stopped sending us. But then my oldest cousin came out to scold us for disobeying, to scare us a little so we'd learn our lesson. He said yes, he would go get the water, but that we would all go with him. At night, the creek was so dark that without a flashlight, you couldn't see anything, not even your hands. We all held hands and moved forward like that in the darkness. My cousin carried large jugs, and that's how we crossed. When we reached the stream and began filling them, we heard what sounded like someone washing clothes. A few meters away, next to a well, there was a woman dressed in white with black hair covering her face. She didn't seem to pay attention to us. But my youngest cousin began approaching her. She thought it was Cecilia, a mute woman from the village we had known all our lives, so she started calling her as best as she could, Chichip. Chichip. The woman turned and lifted her arms as if to reach for her. I told my cousin, look, I think she wants to hug my cousin. When she looked at her, her expression changed. She yelled at us to run home, not to stop for anything. I tried. I ran toward the house in the dark, but paused to look back. My cousin was pulling my other cousin and the woman. The woman had uncovered her face. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't a normal face. It was something very, very strange. An elongated face, very long, that definitely didn't look human. I ran out as fast as I could. My cousin was coming behind me, carrying my other cousin who was crying. When we arrived, my grandmother silently brought us in, sprinkled holy water on us, rubbed our feet with oils and plants, and made us pray. That night we all slept together, crowded onto one bed. Outside we could hear noises like something was circling the house, scratching at the walls. I don't know if it was my imagination, but it seemed to me like it stopped right in front of the windows, as if it was trying to peek in and see us. The next day, my cousin woke up with a fever. He couldn't get out of bed for several days. My uncle searched for the jugs we left, but returned saying he couldn't find them. Later, I heard him telling my grandma in a low voice that he did see them, but they were all full of hair, very long hair. Sometime later, my parents said that maybe we had run into the Siguanaba, but I was left wondering, because the legend I know says that she appears to adult men to deceive them, to lead them to the cliffs. And this was very different, because it would appear to some children. Why did it want my little cousin? My grandmother moved in with us. And even though years have passed, I haven't wanted to go back to her little house, not even to see how it's doing. Hello, community. I hope you're well. It's a pleasure to write to you. For over a month now, I have been separated from my partner of several years. Now I live alone in a neighborhood very close to my job, on a quiet street. Or at least that's what I always tell myself, so I don't think too much about how dark it gets at night. I call it quiet. Not to mention that when night falls, you hardly see anyone and the street becomes deserted, as if everyone were afraid to go out. You don't need to be too smart, and honestly, going out late like this scares me. And not so much because of the paranormal, but because of the few people who stay outside. There are always one or two guys on the corners, smoking who knows what, drinking, watching everyone who passes by. A few days ago, I started to notice something strange. Every night, sometime after 11, I would hear bars clanging in the distance, someone knocking on the bars of the houses. First one, then another, and another, as if someone were knocking house by house. Sometimes it would go by quickly, other times it would stay longer at one. I didn't think much of it, but when I asked around at the store, they didn't tell me anything. They don't even live there. Then I asked the lady next door, who seemed not to understand my question, until one afternoon the neighbor across the street answered me. Finally, it's the old lady with the railings. Don't worry, I think she's crazy and goes around touching all the railings on the street. But who is she? I asked her. She shrugged her shoulders. No, nobody knows. She never talks to anyone. We avoid going out when she's outside, and you should do the same. Don't pay attention to her. She's crazy. And don't go out when she's playing so you don't run into her. I first saw her by chance. I got up for water at night and saw her as I passed the window. A very thin, hunched woman, wearing an old coat and with long gray hair, walking very, very slowly, ringing the doorbell of the house next door. She didn't appear to notice anyone or wait for a reply. She simply rang the bell as if she enjoyed it. Over time, she started ringing my gate too, as if she knew someone was already living there. Always at night, always with that gentle touch, barely noticeable, as if she had no strength. I never opened the door, but each time I felt she lingered a bit longer outside my door. Last week there was a blackout in the neighborhood. The street was completely dark, or rather, even darker than usual. Around 11, I heard the first bang on a wire fence a few houses down. Then on the other one, closer, and another. It was getting closer. This time, my heart started beating really fast. When it reached my gate, I stood still. The darkness overtook me, and very carefully I approached the peephole of my door. 2 meters from the gate to the street. That's how close I was. She was there, right in front of me, her face barely visible, the dim streetlight barely illuminating, her pale skin and tangled hair. She wasn't smiling or making any strange gestures. Just no. I don't know if they're going to believe me, but he just said my name. He whispered it, but so clearly it shook me. I moved away from the door, trying not to make any noise. I hid behind the couch, hoping he would leave. But then I heard his voice again, softer, almost pressed against the wood, as if he had jumped over the fence and was right behind the door. At least that's how it sounded to me. I know you're there. I can't recall when I stopped hearing her, or if I touched my own gate or another one down the street. I just know I spent the rest of the night without moving, staring at the door, hoping she wouldn't come in. Since that night, I haven't heard the gates on the whole street again, but for some reason that doesn't make me feel any better. Dear community, thank you for making it this far, because this is just for those of you who finished this episode. We have 5 first edition books signed, dedicated to whoever you want, and we will send them to your home, even if you live in Patagonia or in Budapest. The only thing you have to do to participate is leave us a comment with the word community. You can say anything. You can say that you're part of the community since when you've been part of it, or why. What makes you feel like you're part of this family? The only requirement for your comment to enter the giveaway is that it includes the word community. Community. We'll leave you now, hoping you have an excellent week, and we'll talk to you very, very soon with more stories of the night.